You ever have one of those moments where an old person says something offhand and it just sticks with you? That was me a few weeks ago, standing by the mailbox when my 80-something neighbor leaned in and said, "Your girlfriend's got company when you're not home." Just like that. No warning, no build-up. And yeah, I laughed. I thought she was just being nosy, or confused, or bored and watching too many soap operas. I said something polite and walked back inside like it was no big deal. But that sentence? It got under my skin. My name's Tyler. I'm 22. I work construction. Early mornings, busted knuckles, come home tired and dirty. Repeat. I'm not flashy. I'm not dramatic. I just like having a place to call mine, food in the fridge, someone to come home to. For the past year, that someone was Haley. She's 20. We've been together since high school, moved in last spring. Small apartment, 2 bedrooms, one for sleeping, one that turned into her little art cave. She paints, doodles, runs a small online shop, works part-time at a boutique. I handled most of the bills. She'd make dinner, or at least pretend to. We'd sit on the couch, watch whatever dumb show was on, and it felt like we had a rhythm. It wasn't perfect, but it felt real. And then Mrs. Brenner, the old lady next door, drops that one line on me like a grenade wrapped in a cardigan. Company when you're not home. I didn't want to believe it. Still don't, honestly. Haley had never given me a reason not to trust her. But over the next few days, I started seeing things I'd never noticed before. A hoodie hanging on the kitchen chair that wasn't mine. 2 mugs in the sink when I only use one. Her suddenly locking the bathroom door when she used to leave it open while brushing her teeth. Small stuff. Stuff you'd ignore, unless someone already planted that seed. And the worst part? She didn't act any different. Still kissed me before work. Still sent me funny texts. Still curled up next to me on the couch like everything was fine. Then came last Tuesday. We got rained out at the site. Boss told us to pack it up. I didn't text Haley. I figured I'd surprise her with breakfast. I walked in the door at 10:32 a.m. And I wish I could forget what I saw. The weird part? The door wasn't even locked. I remember turning the handle like I'd done 1,000 times. Walking in with a little plastic bag from that corner diner she likes. Eggs, hash browns, extra toast. I even got her one of those dumb smoothies she always makes fun of but secretly loves. I was smiling. Then I saw the boots. Big, scuffed work boots, sitting by the front door like they belonged there. Not mine. I froze. The apartment was quiet, too quiet. Usually Haley's got music on or she's humming or the TV's going in the background while she's halfway through painting. But that morning, dead silence. Like the air itself was holding its breath. I set the bag down on the counter without even thinking and took a few slow steps toward the hallway. Bedroom door? Half shut. Then I heard it, her laugh. Soft, familiar. The kind she used to make when she'd steal the blanket or try to draw something on my face while I was asleep. And then a voice. A man's voice. Deep, comfortable. I didn't say a word. I didn't even breathe. I pushed the door open. And there they were. She was in bed, covers pulled up, hair messy in that way that used to be ours. He was shirtless, sitting up against the headboard like he lived there. His arm was still draped over her. They both turned toward me like I was interrupting a movie, not walking into my own home. The look on her face when she saw me? It wasn't fear. It was guilt. Big, wide. Oh my God, I got caught guilt. Tyler, she said, pulling the sheet up like that made a difference. The guy didn't even flinch. He just stared at me, like he was waiting to see what I'd do. I think the scariest part was how calm I felt. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I just stood there, staring, like my brain was buffering. I looked at her and said, "You serious?" She opened her mouth like she had something to say. Then nothing came out. I looked at him. Get out. He didn't move right away. Just sat there like he was doing me a favor by even listening. Then, slowly, he got up, pulled on his jeans, and walked out past me, down the hall, out the door. Didn't look back. Didn't apologize. Nothing. The second the door shut, I turned back to her. She was still clutching the blanket like she was trying to hide, but the damage was already done. I didn't ask who he was. I didn't care. I asked one thing. How long? She looked down. Haley, I said again, louder this time. How long has this been going on? A few weeks, she whispered. That was the last punch. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a one-time thing. It was a routine. She cheated on me in the bed I bought, under the roof I paid for, while I was out busting my back every morning so she could sit at home, working on her art. That night, I didn't sleep. I laid on the couch and stared at the ceiling, trying to figure out where it all went wrong. And the worst part? I should have believed Mrs. Brenner. That night felt like someone pressed pause on my whole life. Haley stayed in the bedroom. I stayed on the couch. We didn't speak, didn't make eye contact. I just laid there staring at the ceiling fan, listening to it click, over and over, like it was mocking me. I must have replayed everything 1,000 times. Her voice when she said, "A few weeks." The guy's face when he walked past me without a word. The sound of their laughter right before I opened the door. I didn't sleep. I couldn't. At some point around 4 a.m., I got up and made coffee just for something to do. She didn't come out. Didn't try to explain. Didn't cry or beg or anything. Just stayed in that room like a coward. The apartment felt different. Colder. Smaller. Like every corner of it had been touched by something I couldn't clean off. I looked around and started seeing things I hadn't noticed before. His phone charger plugged in next to the couch. A second toothbrush in the bathroom drawer. The hoodie I'd seen earlier, still on the chair, like a trophy. I sat at the kitchen table for hours, just staring at the floor, thinking about how many mornings I'd sat in that same spot, sipping coffee while she talked about her latest painting or some stupid show she watched, thinking about how all of it was a lie, or at least built on top of one. When the sun finally came up, she tiptoed into the hallway like she was trying not to wake me. I didn't look at her. "I'm sorry," she said quietly, standing behind the couch. I didn't answer. She stood there for a minute, like she wanted me to give her something, anger, a question, a sign that I still cared. But I had nothing to give. Finally, she whispered, "I didn't mean for it to happen." That got me. I turned to face her. "You didn't mean to have sex with some guy in our bed? While I was at work? You tripped and fell into him." She didn't respond. Just looked down, arms folded across her chest. That silence told me everything. "I gave you everything I had," I said. "And you gave it to someone else." She started crying, finally, but I didn't feel sorry for her. I felt sorry for me, because even after everything, part of me still wanted to ask why. Still wanted a reason. Still wanted to believe there was some version of her that hadn't meant to do this. But that version didn't exist. She said she needed time to think. That she'd go stay at her friend Mia's for a while. I didn't argue. I didn't tell her to go. I didn't say goodbye. I just sat there and let her pack a bag and walk out the door like we were roommates parting ways after a lease ended. And the second the door shut behind her, I broke. I don't even remember what I did first. Punched the wall. Maybe. Threw a glass. Just something to make the silence stop. Because that's what no one tells you about getting cheated on. It's not just the betrayal. It's the after. The silence. The slow, crawling reality that the person you trusted most saw your loyalty as a convenience, not a gift. The apartment didn't feel like mine anymore. It felt like a place where I got lied to, where I slept inches away from someone who was already gone. The day after she left, I called off work. I didn't even give a reason. Just sent a text to my foreman saying something came up and I'd be out for a few days. He replied, "Take care of yourself," which somehow made it worse. Like he knew, even if I hadn't told him. I spent most of that day pacing the apartment. Didn't eat. Barely drank anything. Every room I walked into felt like a crime scene. The couch where she used to fall asleep on my chest. The kitchen where she'd dance around while frying eggs. Even the closet smelled like her shampoo. It all felt like it belonged to someone else now. Around noon, I sat on the edge of the bed, our bed, and just stared. The sheets were still messy from the day before. I should have washed them, should have burned them, but instead, I just sat there, frozen. Then I noticed her laptop. It was sitting on the nightstand, closed, charger plugged, and like she hadn't planned to be gone long. Haley never went anywhere without that thing. It's how she managed her commissions, answered emails, posted her art. At first, I didn't touch it. But curiosity has a way of turning into something darker when trust is gone. I opened it. No password. The desktop loaded fast. Bright wallpaper, cluttered with folders labeled sketches, commissions, clients. I wasn't looking for anything specific. I just clicked. Then I found a folder titled Personal. I opened it. Inside were screenshots, messages, pictures, all dated over the last 6 weeks. Him. Same guy from my bedroom. His name was Ben. She saved their texts stuff like, "I wish I could wake up next to you every morning," and "He still doesn't know. I hate lying, but I can't stop." There were photos of them together, in his truck, in a motel room, even one where she was wearing my hoodie, laying on his chest, smiling like she was right where she wanted to be. That was the moment it shifted for me. Up until then, part of me thought maybe it was a mistake, a lapse, a stupid, selfish choice that spun out of control. But this was deliberate. She wasn't just cheating, she was documenting it, saving it, reliving it. She didn't just betray me, she replaced me. I closed the laptop slowly, like it might explode. For about 10 minutes I just sat there, staring at the wall, trying to figure out what the hell to do next. And then something clicked. I got up, grabbed a trash bag, and started clearing out every piece of her from the apartment. The photos on the fridge, the paintings on the wall, her shoes by the door, her blanket on the couch. All of it, gone. I tossed it all into the spare room, slammed the door, and locked it. That was the first moment I felt like I could breathe again. But later that night, when I sat down to scroll my phone and distract myself, a message popped up. It was from Mia, Haley's best friend. She said, "Hey, I know this is weird, but I think you should see something." And what she sent me next changed everything I thought I knew about the affair. It was almost 10 p.m. I hadn't touched the food I ordered. I was halfway through a beer that had gone warm, just sitting on the couch with my head spinning, when my phone buzzed. It was Mia, Haley's best friend, the one she used to call her ride or die. The message just said, "Hey, I know this is weird, but I think you should see something." No context, no small talk, just that. A few seconds later, she sent a screenshot. It was a text conversation. I saw Haley's name at the top. My chest started to tighten. The first message from Haley read, "He finally opened it." I made sure the folder was easy to find. I knew he would. Then another one. This way he gets to feel like he uncovered something. It's cleaner than a screaming match. And one more that made my hands go cold. If he's the one who ends it, I won't be the bad guy. I didn't move. I just stared at the screen. She wanted me to find the messages. She planned it. Everything I saw on that laptop, the text with the guy, the photos, she didn't forget to hide them. She left them there. It wasn't just betrayal. It was strategy. I messaged Mia right back. "Where did you get this?" She replied fast. She sent them to me. Said she had a plan. I didn't think she was serious. I sat there trying to wrap my head around it. Haley was feeding Mia updates like it was some kind of experiment. She didn't just cheat. She crafted her exit like a script. Like she was choreographing her own heartbreak story, just with me as the sucker who was supposed to collapse at the right moment. I texted again. "Why are you showing me this now?" Mia's reply was slower. "Because it's wrong." I didn't think she'd actually go through with it like this. She's not even sorry. I leaned back on the couch, staring at the ceiling. The whole thing wasn't just selfish, it was calculated. She didn't want to be the one who ended things. She wanted to break me enough that I'd do it for her, and then she could walk away without guilt. Or worse, make me look like the bad guy. And that's when I knew I couldn't just let this sit. She wanted a clean break. She wanted no confrontation. She wanted me broken and out of the way so she could move on easy. No, she doesn't get that. Not after what she did. Not after dragging me through this like I was some disposable prop in her exit plan. I didn't yell. I didn't rage. I didn't post anything or blow up her phone. I called someone I hadn't talked to in a while, her dad, and I told him everything. I hadn't talked to Haley's dad since we moved into the apartment. He helped us carry the mattress in, made a few jokes about us playing house, and left a bottle of cheap wine as a housewarming gift. After that, nothing. Haley always said they weren't that close. "He's not good with feelings," she'd tell me. Still, I remembered how protective he was. The kind of guy who watched your hand shake and kept eye contact a beat too long. I figured if anyone deserved to know who his daughter really was, it was him. So I called. It rang 4 times. I almost hung up. Then he picked up. "Tyler," he said, surprised. "Yeah," I said. "Hey, sorry to call late. What's going on? Everything all right?" I didn't ease into it. I didn't know how. She cheated on me. Silence. She's been seeing some guy behind my back for weeks. In our apartment. In our bed. And today I found out she did it on purpose. Left evidence behind just so I'd find it. Because she didn't want to break up with me herself. Still silence. Then finally, he said, "You sure? Positive?" She's been bragging about it to Mia. I have screenshots. It wasn't just a one-time thing. It was planned. She tried to manipulate the breakup so I'd be the one to pull the trigger. He let out a breath. Jesus Christ. Another pause. "I'm sorry, man," he said. "I don't even know what to say." "You don't have to say anything," I said. "I just figured you should know who your daughter really is." He didn't argue, didn't defend her, just said, "Thanks for telling me," and hung up. I didn't expect much from that call. I wasn't looking for justice or some dramatic fallout. I just didn't want to be the only one carrying it anymore. But what happened next surprised me. The next morning, I got a call from Haley. First time since she'd left. I didn't answer. Then a voicemail came through. Her voice was frantic. "Tyler, why did you tell my dad? What is wrong with you? You had no right. He's furious. He won't stop calling me. And now my mom's involved. You don't understand how bad you've made this." I played it 3 times. Now she was mad, not because she got caught cheating, not because she hurt me, but because I didn't let her control the story. And the more I thought about it, the more twisted it all seemed. She planned to hurt me quietly, walk away clean, keep her reputation intact with her friends and family. But now her perfect exit was cracked. Now someone else knew. Later that day, I got another message. From Mia. She said she's spiraling. Said you ruined everything. She's trying to flip it on you like you're being vindictive. That part didn't surprise me. But what did surprise me was what Mia said next. She told Ben you found out everything. He bailed. I blinked. Bailed. Gone. Blocked her. Said he didn't want the drama. Guess he didn't know the whole plan either. I just sat there, stunned. Haley didn't just lose me. She lost him too. And suddenly, that voice in the back of my mind, the one that had been telling me I wasn't enough, that maybe this was my fault, it finally shut up. Because this wasn't about me being boring or not romantic enough or too busy with work. This was about her, her games, her lies, her need to control how everything ended. And now, it wasn't ending on her terms anymore. I hadn't talked to Haley's dad in over a year. He helped us move in, shook my hand a little too firmly, and told me to take care of his daughter. After that, he faded into the background. Haley said he wasn't much of a talker, and I never pushed it. But that night, I called him. I didn't know exactly what I expected. Maybe nothing. Maybe just to get it out of my system. He picked up after a few rings, his voice tired. "Tyler." "Yeah. Sorry to call late." "What's going on?" I didn't dance around it. "Haley cheated on me," I said. "With some guy named Ben. It's been going on for weeks. In our place. In our bed." The line went quiet. I kept going. She left stuff on her laptop so I'd find it. Screenshots, messages, pictures. And I just found out she planned it that way. She didn't want to end things herself. She wanted me to do it, so she wouldn't feel guilty. He didn't say a word for a long time. Then finally, "Are you sure?" "I'm sure." Another pause. Then he let out a slow breath. Damn. He didn't defend her. He didn't get angry at me. He just said, "Thanks for telling me," and hung up. I didn't think it'd change anything. I just needed someone besides me to know the truth. The next morning, my phone started blowing up. Missed call from Haley. Then another. Then a voicemail. Her voice was tense, almost panicked. "What did you say to my dad? Why would you go to him? He's freaking out. He told my mom. And now everyone's calling me like I'm a criminal. Tyler, you made this so much worse." I just sat there listening. She wasn't upset about cheating. She was upset because I messed up the story she was trying to spin. She didn't get to walk away quietly anymore. Now people knew. People who mattered to her. That afternoon, Mia messaged me again. "She's losing it," she said. "Said you ruined everything." I asked her what she meant by that. She told Ben you found out. He cut her off. Said he didn't want any more drama. Blocked her on everything. That one actually made me pause. Ben didn't even know the full story. He thought he was sneaking around with someone unhappy in her relationship, not someone running a playbook on how to emotionally gut her boyfriend. The second it stopped being fun, he was out. So now Haley was alone. She didn't have me. She didn't have him. She didn't even have her fake version of how this breakup was supposed to look. And in that moment, I felt something I hadn't felt since this whole thing started. Peace. Not revenge. Not victory. Just peace. She played her hand. I just stopped playing. 2 days passed without a word from her. I started sleeping a little better. Started eating again, though everything still tasted off. I went back to work for a short shift, mostly just to keep from going crazy in that quiet apartment. The guys didn't ask questions. I was thankful for that. The place felt different, still mine, but hollow. Her paintings were gone. The little ceramic mug she always used was in the trash. The living room didn't smell like her lavender spray anymore. That was on purpose. I'd opened all the windows. Just when I thought things were settling into something manageable, the lock turned. She walked in like she still had a right to. Didn't knock. Didn't text first. Just opened the door and stood there like she didn't expect me to be home. She looked around, maybe noticing that everything of hers was missing. I didn't speak. I just watched her. She said she wanted to talk, that she didn't come to fight. She mentioned how I'd packed her stuff away already, like it surprised her I'd moved that quickly. Then she started in about her dad, how I shouldn't have told him, that I made things worse, that now her mom knew, that it was chaos. She wasn't crying, not yet, but she was unraveling in small, sharp ways. Her hands kept fidgeting with the strap of her bag. She looked at the floor more than she looked at me. I let her talk. She didn't apologize. Not really. Just kept circling around the idea that things had gotten out of hand, and she didn't expect it all to fall apart like this. She even said she thought I'd end it quietly, said she didn't want to hurt me. That part almost made me laugh. She stood in the same kitchen where I made her coffee every morning, where we used to sit and argue about what show to watch. Now she was just another problem I had to manage. She finally said she'd come back later for the rest of her things. I told her I'd leave them on the porch. She hesitated at the door, said something about how she really did love me at one point. I didn't respond. Then she left, and this time, it felt like she knew she wouldn't be coming back. After she left for good, I thought it would feel cleaner, final, like a weight off. Instead, the silence got heavier. The apartment didn't echo with arguments or tension anymore, but it didn't feel peaceful either. Just empty. Her absence wasn't loud. It was subtle, like the lack of footsteps in the hallway. Like the light in the bathroom she always left on that now stayed off. Like waking up and realizing the bed barely looked slept in because I'd started sleeping curled on one side without even noticing. I boxed up the last of her things over the next few days. A few random books, some old sweaters, a paint-stained apron she left hanging behind the door. I didn't look through anything, didn't linger. Just bagged it, taped the box shut, and left it on the porch like I said I would. She picked it up without a word. No text. No thank you. Nothing. Mia messaged once, just to check in. Said she hadn't heard much from Haley since the fallout, and that she was probably embarrassed. I didn't know what to say to that. I wasn't interested in updates. The less I heard, the better. The real surprise came a week later. My mom called. I hadn't told her anything. I didn't want to explain it. Didn't want the pity or the worried questions. But somehow she knew something was off. She asked about Haley. I gave a short answer, said she wasn't living here anymore. That turned into a pause, then a quiet, "I'm sorry, honey." That hit harder than I expected. Not the words, just the softness in her voice. The way it reminded me that this wasn't just a breakup. It was a collapse of everything I thought I'd built. My mom didn't press, just said she'd come visit soon. Bring food. Maybe help me clear out the second bedroom. I almost said no. Then I said okay. That night, I walked into that room and turned on the light for the first time since I threw all of Haley's things in there. It was still half full. Some furniture, unopened mail, a couple of old canvases she'd left behind. I stood there for a while, just letting the quiet hum around me. It wasn't grief anymore. It wasn't even rage. It was something slower, heavier, like standing in the wreckage of a fire you didn't see coming. She didn't just lie to me. She twisted the truth into something that felt like mine, then pulled it out from under me. And now? Now I had to figure out who I was without her. I hadn't seen Mrs. Brenner since the day she warned me. A month had passed. I figured she either forgot about it or didn't want to get involved any more than she already had. I didn't blame her. The last thing I wanted was to rehash everything with the neighborhood grapevine. But then she knocked. It was early evening. I was on the couch, halfway through folding laundry, when I heard the tap, 3 soft knocks, spaced apart. I opened the door expecting maybe a package delivery. Instead, there she was, sweater wrapped around her shoulders, hair pinned up like always. "I won't stay long," she said. I wanted to say I'm sorry. I stood there a second before stepping aside. She came in slowly, looked around the apartment. Her eyes landed on the bare wall where Haley's biggest painting used to hang. "I know it wasn't my place to say anything," she said, her voice low. "But I've lived next to a lot of couples over the years. You can tell when something's off." I didn't say anything right away. I didn't know what to say, but I wasn't angry at her. Not anymore. "You were right," I finally said. She nodded, like she already knew that. "I just didn't want to watch it happen and say nothing," she continued. "My husband, he passed 10 years ago. But before that, well, let's just say I know what it feels like to sleep beside someone who isn't really there anymore." That hit harder than I expected. She wasn't just a nosy neighbor. She was someone who saw a version of her past replaying next door. "I don't think she's a bad person," she added. "But she made a choice. And so did you. You handled it better than most." I didn't feel like I handled anything well, but I appreciated the words. Then she pulled something from her coat pocket, a small, folded card. "This was on your doormat this morning," she said. I didn't read it. She handed it over and let herself out before I could even say thank you. I stared at the envelope for a while before opening it. No name on the outside, just a short note inside, handwritten. I saw her leave with that guy twice before I said anything. I waited because I didn't want to be wrong. "I'm sorry I didn't speak up sooner." There was no signature, but I knew it wasn't from Mrs. Brenner. I read it again, twice. Someone else had known. Someone else saw what I didn't, and they said nothing until now. It didn't change the outcome, but it did remind me of something I hadn't thought about in weeks. The truth always leaks out. No matter how careful someone is, no matter how good they are at hiding, people see more than they say. It came out of nowhere. I was standing in line at the grocery store, scrolling through emails on my phone, when I saw it, an unread message from an address I didn't recognize. No subject line, just one sentence in the preview. "I owe you an explanation." For a second, I thought it was spam. I almost deleted it on instinct, but something about the timing, about the tone, made me stop. I opened it. It was from Ben, the guy, the one who sat in my bed next to Haley like it was his. The email was short. No introduction, no excuses, just a few paragraphs. He said he didn't know she was still living with me, that she told him things were basically over, that she was just figuring out how to break the news. Said he wouldn't have touched the situation if he'd known I was still in the picture. Claimed he thought I was some ex still clinging on. He wrote that he found out the truth when she showed him the screenshots of the messages she planted on her laptop, that she laughed about it, called it a test. Said she needed to be sure I'd crack on my own. That's when he said he walked away. "None of it felt right after that," he wrote. "I blocked her because I didn't want to be part of someone's damage control plan." He finished by saying he didn't expect forgiveness. "Just thought I should know." I stared at the screen for a long time. It didn't make me feel better. It didn't make me feel worse. It just confirmed everything. Haley hadn't slipped. She hadn't made a mistake in a moment of weakness. She'd strategized her way through betrayal like it was a career move. Rewrote the truth for him, for me, for anyone who'd listen. She never gave anyone the whole story, just enough to keep control of the version that suited her. And Ben? He wasn't innocent, but he was a pawn, like me. Just another character in the story she was directing from behind the scenes. I didn't respond. What would I even say? "Thanks for letting me know you didn't realize you were helping destroy my relationship?" No. I let it sit in my inbox like a reminder, not of the betrayal, but of how far some people will go to dodge accountability. That night, I finally deleted the old texts, the photos, everything that tied me to her digitally. And as I sat on the couch, staring at the blank spot where her painting used to hang, I realized something I hadn't admitted out loud yet. I wasn't mad anymore. I was done. A month passed. Not all at once, of course. At first, it was the usual: bad sleep, weird dreams, moments where I'd reach for my phone to text her something before remembering who she really was. But time did what it always does. It chipped away at the noise. The apartment stayed quiet. I started using the second bedroom again. Not for anything dramatic, just storage, a place to keep tools, maybe work on some stuff in the evenings. The smell of her paint finally faded. The blank space on the wall didn't bother me anymore. It just was. One night, I was standing in the kitchen waiting for water to boil when I caught myself humming, not thinking about anything, just existing. And it hit me how rare that had become, this feeling of not carrying something heavy, No pressure. No monitoring someone else's behavior. No guessing if today was going to be a normal day or a fake one. I started seeing things differently. I thought back to little moments that used to confuse me, times she snapped at me for no reason, shut down during conversations, changed the subject whenever I brought up her future. I always blamed myself. I thought maybe I was asking for too much or being needy. I wasn't. She was just somewhere else, and I didn't want to see it. Mia checked in now and then. Nothing deep. Just little messages like, "You doing all right?" Or, "Hope your week's been better." I appreciated it, but I kept the responses short. Not because I didn't trust her, but because I was tired of that chapter. I didn't want to circle the drain again. One afternoon, I went out to grab lunch, and I saw her, Haley, across the street. She didn't see me. She was sitting at a small table outside some cafe, staring at her phone, looking bored. Alone. Hair tied back. No sparkle in her expression. Just there. Like a placeholder in her own life. I stood there for maybe 20 seconds. Not hiding. Just waiting to see if I'd feel anything. I didn't. I didn't hate her. I didn't miss her. I just felt done. And for the first time, I understood what it actually means to move on. It's not some big dramatic declaration. It's not deleting every photo or burning a hoodie in the backyard. It's when the part of you that wanted an apology finally gives up needing one. She looked up once, glanced around. Our eyes didn't meet. I turned and walked away. Didn't rush. Didn't look back. She was a lesson, not a scar. It's been 3 months. Long enough that people stopped asking questions. Long enough that I can say her name without flinching, though I don't bring her up unless I have to. Most days I don't think about her at all. When I do, it's like a scene from a movie I half-watched once. Fuzzy around the edges. I've changed more than I expected. It's not dramatic. I didn't shave my head or get a tattoo or suddenly start meditating, but I started taking care of myself again. Eating better. Going for walks after work. Fixing up my truck on weekends just because I enjoy it. I'm not trying to reinvent myself. I'm just getting back to who I was before I had to carry someone else's lies. A few weeks ago, I ran into a guy from work at a hardware store. He hadn't seen me since the fallout and asked how things were going. I gave the usual shrug and said, "Better." He nodded, looked at me for a second, then said something that stuck. "You seem lighter." And he was right. I am. I didn't realize how heavy that relationship had become. The constant wondering. The tiny red flags I kept folding into origami excuses. The way I gave her room to lie and called it trust. I thought love was supposed to be unconditional, but now I know. Love without respect just turns into self-neglect. I don't regret being with her. That part surprises people when I say it. But it's true. She taught me what to look out for. What I won't tolerate again. And more than anything, she showed me what it feels like to lose yourself trying to keep someone else happy. That lesson hurt. But I've got it now. There's someone I've been texting lately. Someone new. Nothing serious yet. Just conversations. She's funny. Actually asks about my day. Doesn't make me feel like I'm auditioning for the role of worthy boyfriend. It's not a rebound. It's a reminder that I'm still capable of connection and that not everyone's playing a game. I'm not rushing anything. I'm not looking for someone to fill a gap. I'm just living. The old lady next door still waves every morning. Sometimes she brings over muffins. We don't talk about Haley. I think she knows I don't need reminders. What I needed was someone to say something when it mattered. She did. That counts for more than she knows. Sometimes I look back at that version of myself, the guy who brought home breakfast at 10:30 a.m. thinking he was about to surprise his girlfriend. He didn't know what was coming, but I do now. And if he could see me here clear-headed, focused, finally at peace, I think he'd be proud.